Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Tel Aviv. Coming up in today's newscast, the IDF removes a blockade on Ramallah. A new app combats anti-Semitism on the internet, and pieces of the Columbia space shuttle make it to the Holy Land. I'm Natasha Kirchak here with the latest news in Israel. Looks like the Israeli army has already removed the blockade that was placed on the West Bank city Ramallah yesterday. The military has taken down the roadblocks that were placed around the city due to security concerns. The security measure greatly restricted movement of Palestinian civilians, and this was the first time the city was closed off since the start of the current wave of terror. The blockade was implemented just ahead of the funeral of Amjad Saki, the Palestinian security guard who opened fire on 3 Israeli soldiers earlier this week. Thousands of Palestinians attended the funeral today, including officials and police from the Palestinian Authority. Mourners praised Sakari as a martyr and called for increased violence against Jews and Israelis. Some unique photos from the Israeli Arrow satellite have just been released, exposing part of the Russian Air Force's operations in the Syrian civil war. The photos document the Latakia air base in Syria, which is controlled by Russia. They even illustrate dozens of Russian fighter jets and the operations of the new S-400 anti-aircraft batteries. The images show an increase of Russian forces in the area, which could explain the military's recent success. Israeli defense officials say the evidence shows that there are more and more Russian jets used to attack rebels that oppose the Assad regime, and that the S-400 missiles have been deployed to protect the planes from response fire. The Arrow satellites used to paint this picture are built by the Israel Aerospace Industries. The Israeli army claims there's no proof that Hamas is digging tunnels under Israeli homes on the Gaza border. Israeli residents have been complaining about the sounds of digging underneath their homes, but the IDF has reportedly checked out the noises and insists they're not terror tunnels.
You watch the grounds a lot, you start to be aware for a lot of voices and to start to understand any voices where it came from. But this voice was strange. It was like someone literally digging under my feet. It's crazy.
אני שמעתי פעם שעברה את הפטיש ואיזמל, אז אני שומע שזה ממש חופרים פה מתחת לבטון. המשפחה כמובן בלחץ, רוב התושבים פה באי ודאות.
It's crazy, it's scary, like you live in a roulette. Any minute someone can pop from the ground and start shooting and I don't know what to do.
Although the army says the sounds aren't coming from terror tunnels, recent reports claim that Hamas is ramping up its terror tunnel construction. Several tunnels have reportedly already crossed under the border. The head of the Eshkol Regional Council, Gadi Yarkoni, is calling on the army to construct a so-called tunnel barrier to prevent the threat. Israeli lawmakers say that Israel has a right to take military action if construction continues.
I can't say whether or not they succeeded to cross the border to Israel, but if they succeeded, this is a breakdown of Israel's jurisdiction. And I think from a moral point of view and from a security point of view, this gives Israel the full right to do something about it. And unfortunately, the only thing that we can do about it is destroy these tunnels. Even if it says that Israel, the only way to destroy them is to get into Gaza and destroy the tunnels, very similar to what we did in the summer of 2014.
A controversial new law has just been passed in Israel, which allows police to stop and frisk people without reasonable suspicion. Until now, frisking was only legal if police had ample reason to assume an individual was carrying a weapon, like a bulge in a person's clothing which resembled a gun. The new law gives the police the right to search any individual, even if there is no reason to suspect the person of carrying a weapon. The temporary provision will be valid for the next year, and civil rights activists are infuriated. They're warning the legislation will increase police discrimination against minority groups and give cops too much power. Yet the current government says the law aims to prevent further Palestinian attacks in the current wave of terror. Almost everybody knows how terrible it feels to get a flat tire while driving. You're scared you'll ruin your car, you're worried you'll be late to your meeting, and you're hoping the whole affair won't cost you an arm and a leg. But no worries, an Israeli startup is here to the rescue. NeoMedics has created technology that monitors your tires, and CEO Kfir Whitman joins us with more. Thanks for coming in.
Hi, Natasha. Thanks for having me.
So talk to us about your technology. What does NeoMedics do?
Well, basically what we call our technology is visual tire intelligence. We do an electro-optic scan of the wheels and then analyze it to find the faults, defects, and monitor it in a way that we let the commercial fleets know if they have problems with the tires and their required actions.
So I understand that the state of your tires makes a big impact on the environment and your wallet as well, your finances. Tell us about that.
That's absolutely true. You know, the tire is the only thing connecting the vehicle to the road, so it's very crucial and affects CO2 emissions, obviously your fuel economy, but even driving safety and performance. So it's very important to have your tires in good working condition, and it's even more important when you're running a commercial fleet like a trucking or logistics company and even municipal buses.
Right. And so how did you guys come up with this idea to monitor tires?
Well, I'm an engineer by trade, and you know, one day I was walking the street and I was always obsessed with cars and tires, and one day I saw a car with an underinflated tire, and I was saying to myself, I mean, it can be that with all the technology we have today, people are still going with underinflated tires due to what we spoke about before.
It's dangerous. It's a waste of your time if your car breaks down because of that. So I totally get that.
So I tried to come up with some ideas of how to easily monitor tire pressure, and had some buddies join me, and we started a company. And after a while, we joined some strategic investors, and they have a company to manage automotive fleets. So they told us what we have is very nice, but what the market actually requires is a broad spectrum of tire problem monitoring and an asset management tool for commercial vehicle fleets. So we went back to the drawing board, and 2 years later, we popped up with a few betas, and now we're about to launch.
So on that note, who is your target demographic? Are you aiming to sell this product to private drivers or to mass fleets?
Well, basically it's important for everyone. We had an app a while back called Tire Check. It's an iPhone app that enables consumers, enables drivers to take images of their tires and see if they're properly inflated or not. But for us, the real market is the commercial fleets, you know, like logistics and buses. The bigger the tires, the more expensive the tires, the more mileage they do on a monthly basis, that's the bigger the painkiller we can offer them.
Yeah, absolutely. So when is this product going to be available? Is it already being used, or has it been tested in the field?
So we've tested it in the field, both in Israel and abroad, and we've just finalized the first version of our commercial fleet product, and now we're in actually very advanced negotiations with a couple of big fleets.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming in, and looking forward to seeing how your company grows.
Thank you so much.
Imagine an internet free of racist and xenophobic content. Well, a new phone app targeting anti-Semitism is on a mission to make that a reality. The Sniper search engine scans the internet for anti-Jewish content so that its users can take action. The World Zionist Organization is set to launch the Sniper app next week to combat xenophobia online. The system scans the internet using an algorithm to identify certain keywords in different languages. Members of the organization then look over the internet to confirm cases of actual anti-Semitism, contacting authorities in the countries of offenders. The entrepreneurs behind the app insist it will be supervised so that it doesn't end up shaming people without proper evidence. The Sniper's first users will be members of the World Zionist Organization's global network for combating anti-Semitism. It will start out by operating on a trial basis in Latin America, since the region has seen a recent rise in anti-Semitism. Pieces of the Columbia space shuttle have made a very special journey to Israel in honor of the Israeli astronaut Ilan Ramon. Ramon was a part of the crew that died in the shuttle's explosion 13 years ago. The pieces are in Israel as part of the Ilan Ramon International Space Conference, which took place in Herzliya. The exhibition is on loan from NASA and is being used in the conference to honor the late crew of the Columbia space shuttle, especially Israeli astronaut Ilan Ramon. Ramon had been conducting experiments to learn more about the movement of sand particles in the air, and more specifically in the Middle East. The Israeli Minister of Space and Technology, Ofir Akuneh, says that Ramon's memory lives on in his scientific contributions to Israel, which are still being used by the Israeli scientific community. Akuneh also says that he will be speaking with NASA about the possibility of sending another Israeli astronaut into space.
And now for our Hebrew word of the day. Time is money, and today's word is zman, which means time in Hebrew. Zman is actually the root of a lot of other words in Hebrew, like azmana, which means invitation. Even though zman is used a lot in the Hebrew language, Israelis have a notoriously relaxed sense of time. If you invite an Israeli friend over for dinner, don't be surprised if they show up a half an hour late. And try not to take it personally, they would expect you to do the same. The word zman is also used in a lot of Israeli slang, like the popular phrase chaval al azman. The saying literally translates to shame on the time, as in waste of time, but it can also be used to say something is really awesome. So go ahead and tell your friends that ILTV is chaval al azman, and just make sure you say it with a happy tone. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast. The weather is looking up for the rest of the week. Wednesday is expected to be sunny with a high of 68 degrees. The temperature should be even warmer on Thursday with a high of 71 and clear sunny skies. All right, everybody, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.95 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at ILTV.tv, and don't forget to check out our evening update every night at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for watching, and see you tomorrow.